was a hotel of feminist artists or feminist people.
I'm sure you can speak of Guston he has a feminist side to his art, maybe. That could be
Oh.
discussed. So that's how it started for him again. And during the 70s, until I'd say 1976 to 97, when he was in the, he was really at the top of his art, because that's when he was doing those fantastic works that today are the most sought after.
At that time, he started to sell with this
No, I was
Barbie
going
Zoltan.
to come to that. He wasn't selling anything, strictly nothing. I mean, both McKee and Guston, they really had a hard time. And besides, in the I think in the mid 70s, the art market entered into a crisis. So, the art market has cyclical crises, and that was one of them. So they really had a hard time. And then one day there was this guy. Who was the nephew of a very rich collector, and who apparently had inherited a vast sum of money. A guy from Los Angeles. I forgot his name now. His name escapes me. He gave all his collection to MoMA. But anyway, the guy didn't know anything about art, and his uncle told him, look, if you want to learn something, go to my friend David McKee. He will teach you a couple of things. So that guy, it was roughly 1976, I think, Edward Broida.
Oh.
So Edward Broida was that guy. He just showed up at the David McKee gallery, and he told McKee that he was coming on behalf of his uncle, and that his uncle wanted him to learn a bit about contemporary art, so that's why he was there. So he looked at him and told him, well, okay, have a look at what I have in my on my walls now. It's a guy named Philip Guston. That's what he's doing now. And that Edward Broida just fell completely in love with Guston's figurative works. And on the spot, he bought 2 paintings. And that was about, altogether, it was about $30,000, I think. 2 major paintings, which was a huge sum. I mean, at the time, it was a $30,000 at the time was a big sum. And obviously for Philip Guston, who hadn't been selling for a long time, it was so McKee called Guston and told him, look, Philip, there's a guy here who just bought 2 paintings. Maybe you want to take a bus and come over and meet him. And, Guston was kind of, hesitating. I have other things to do. I'm cooking or whatever I'm doing. So McKee insisted. And finally, Guston came over, and they just sat there. And Guston was introduced to Broida, and they hit it off. And he asked McKee if there was anything to drink. So McKee said, maybe I have a bottle of whiskey somewhere. And he came back with a bottle of whiskey, and they all had a bottle of whiskey with all the paintings around them. And that's how their relationship started. And that guy, Broida, over the years, built a fantastic collection of Philip Guston works, which he donated to MoMA. So the bulk of MoMA's collection of Philip Guston works comes from Edward Broida, who started just by showing up at the gallery. And he was the first big collector of Guston's work in the 70s. And then, it started, and unfortunately, Philip Guston died of a heart attack in 1980. So he didn't live long enough to see the actual great success of his late work, which really started 10 years after he died. So basically, that's it for Philip Guston's life and work and collectors.
How about Philip Morandi? You share great paintings of Morandi, and you're collecting Morandi too, right?
Yes, I collect Morandi. I sell Morandi. I help collectors Morandi.
So, what do you think about Philip Morandi? And if you compare with him and the other artists, I mean, in terms of character and style?
Well, there is a certain affinity between Giorgio Morandi and other artists I collect. There was a show, for instance, in Los Angeles a few years ago. I think it was the Koenig Gallery, The show had Ryman and Morandi next to each other, and really small size works by Robert Ryman, and really they matched each other. You know, it's all a matter of light, a matter of rhythm, a matter of atmosphere. You have a Ryman next to a Morandi, you see they match really. So Morandi himself is probably one of the three major post-war Italian artists, painters, along with well, I can maybe not even the Chirico, because the Chirico's good period was before the war. So I would rank Morandi as probably one of the major painters, with Manzoni, maybe Fontana, even though Fontana was born in Argentina. So these are the three main. So, and really, Morandi is he's an inspiration to many, and so is Guston, by the way, to many young painters right now, especially on the New York scene. You can, if you talk to young painters in New York, you will see that many will reference either Guston or Morandi, which is interesting, because you wouldn't expect, naturally you wouldn't expect this. So there is this affinity. There was a show at David McKee's in 2009 of small paintings by Guston, small works, and the general opinion was that really they referenced Morandi in many ways, even though he himself never really mentioned Morandi. There's no, you can't really find any writings or quotes by Guston mentioning Morandi, but there is a certain affinity in the work. Also, the way he paints the brushworks, there is they have a lot to do with each other. Now, that's for the artistic, the aesthetic part. As far as the market is concerned, you want to hear about the market?
Yes, yes, please. Do you think the market value them well, or they are still undervalued artists?
Well, I think Philip Guston is definitely undervalued. I mean, he has a long way to go. The issue being that there are very few works. He was not a prolific painter, so to have a market, you have to have a certain quantity of transactions and of important paintings coming up to the market. So the issue with Guston is that people are so attached to his work that they, like myself, by the way, that they have a hard time selling. So you very seldom see a major work by Philip Guston coming up on the market.
Exactly.
And if one ever came up, I mean, the last really major work that was sold, which was an abstract work called Tu Fellini, that Christie sold, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, it made like $21 million. So, and today that work would be worth probably 30 million. If a major figurative work came up on the market today, that would, basically be the type of price, about 15 to 20 million dollars. And this doesn't happen. So that's a major hindrance to the market.
Do we know how many works does he have a catalogue raisonné?
Yes, it was recently published online by the Guston Foundation. And it's a very useful tool, by the way. You can find it on philipguston.org, and it's very well done. So you can see that
so open to everyone, or it's membership?
It's open to everyone. You have to register and to sign up with a passcode. And once you have it, it's open. There are still a number of fantastic works in private collection. So this means that one day one of them will come up, which will really give a boost to the market. The David McKee Gallery shut down in 2015, and the estate was taken over by Hauser and Wirth, which is a very big, one of the main, 4 or 5 galleries in the world.
So
So that was,
Guston's gallery is now Hazarvik.
I'm sorry?
Now Philip Guston's gallery is Hazarvik automatically. Hmm.
Yeah, they have the estate, so they
Mhm.
work directly with the foundation. So this is also a boost to the market, because obviously when
Mhm.
you have one of those
Mhm.
behemoth galleries behind an artist, then of course the price point, the price level tends to change.
Mhm.
As far as Morandi is concerned, it's a different kettle of fish, as they say. Morandi's market has been steady for, I would say, 40 years. He's always been an expensive artist
Mhm.
because he's always been recognized everywhere, and he's always been in the books, history books. So he's always been. His paintings have risen in prices, but there are very few bumps, I would say. There was one major bump in 2011 because the Chinese discovered him.
Uh-huh.
One artist painter, I can't remember who, published a photo of himself with two Morandis behind him, and this really gave a boost to the prices, and they went up like 15 to 20% in 1 year, which had never happened before with Morandi. And ever since it's been steady. You don't have bargains with Morandi. What you have are very many average works and a few fantastic works, which then can reach very high prices.
Mhm. Mhm.
So he was a rather prolific painter, and within Morandi's market, you have three different micro markets. You have the still lifes, the flowers, and the landscapes, and these are three different markets, totally different buyers and totally different price points. Um, anything else you would like to know about the?
Does Morandi has also a catalogue raisonné, I
Yes. Yeah.
suppose? Yes.
The catalogue raisonné is called the Vitali because it was published by an Italian gentleman called Vitali, Signore Vitali, and it's
Mhm.
the Morandi Bible, and it's all in black and white, but it lists every single painting Morandi ever painted. So it's a very useful tool, especially as yeah, if you have doubts on the authenticity of a painting, you go to the Vitali and you check. So that's a very useful tool.
Mhm. How about site Twombly?
So the
Do you
market,
have
yeah,
how many of them you have?
this I won't tell you.
Too
Sorry,
many,
I can't
too many.
answer the
But
every.
you have more than one.
What I can tell you is that Twombly himself, he painted about 600 paintings and 1,600 drawings. So that's not a very big amount of
Mhm.
works. If you compare to
Mhm.
Dubuffet, you have 12,000 works. So that's really
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
So the market for Twombly is really based on the difficulty, the rarity, the difficulty
Yes.
to find good works.
Mhm.
So
Do you think that there is a high demand of Twombly in Chinese market by
yeah,
Chinese collectors?
yes, yeah. Well, Chinese and Asian in general, yes,
Asian.
they're the main buyers currently of expensive big works. Yeah, that's mainly Asian. Yeah,
Mhm.
and you also
And
have Americans, of course, who there are always
mhm.
these.
Do you think there are some great works which may come up to the auctions
Oh
of
yes,
Twombly?
yes.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the liquidity, but still there's liquidity in his market.
Well, there is liquidity for any high quality work. I mean, uh, if you put a high quality work on the market now, you will see. I mean, Christie sold a Twombly for $45 million last month, so, and
Mhm.
it was one. I mean, it was a fantastic work. So the liquidity is there, and there's no doubt about that. The liquidity is no longer here for average works, and that is
Mhm.
true for any. I mean, you put a medium Rothko, you will see that it will be bought in at an auction, which happened actually recently. It's true for any artist right now. This is why people like myself, we have to be very careful. Some bets are riskless, and most of the bets right now are full of risks. So as you have to find the quality, and there is always liquidity for quality. That's for sure.
Do you think that in auctions there are some outside interventions to make some of the prices to stay high, to keep
Well, of
them
course
high?
there are,
Hmm.
but I don't. There's nothing wrong about that. It's part of the game. It's obvious that if a dealer holds, I don't know, like 100 Fontanas, for instance, it's obvious that he'll show up at auction if a Fontana comes up, and he'll push the price. Same for a guy who owns several hundred Warhols. There's nothing wrong about that. It's normal. And there should be such intervention. That's the way the market works. Now, if you're not ready to accept those interventions, then you do something else. That's all. You don't go into art. That's.
Do you think collectors are connected to each other? Collectors collecting the same artists. I mean, are they friends with each other, or at least in contact with each other?
Well, some are friends, some are enemies. I try, I try to be friends and to be liked by everybody, but some, but yes, I mean, we basically, I know who collects the artists I collect. They don't necessarily know me, but yes, it's part of. I mean, I myself, I try to be as much informed as I can on the markets I'm involved in, definitely.
Mm. Do you think that something like an art registry could
For collectors,
distribute information? Um,
for
you know,
collectors,
yeah, for collectors. I know that collectors prefer to stay in anonymous. However, registering the ownership of artworks in an art registry, which is only accessed by limited number of people, but at least register it somewhere so that there is a database of.
I doubt that is possible, though.
Hmm.
Because most people do not want to advertise what they have for
Yes,
various
yes,
reasons, obviously.
I know. Hmm.
So
I know.
I doubt this would work.
But then, don't you think that that may evitate also, some legal issues, or multiple ownership, the
Well,
court cases, things like that?
well, there was a recent case. Maybe that's what you're hinting at. Um, with what's the name? That German painter.
Richter?
No. Forgot it. He was very much in demand, and now his market is going down a bit.
Anselm Kiefer? No.
No. Well, the guy in Ego was dealing in,
Okay.
I forgot the name. Anyway, that's so. Yes, it can happen. But to tell you the truth, if you do your homework as a collector, and if you're cautious enough, if you're not greedy and do not expect, outlandish profits on a short-term basis, if you're not greedy and if you do your homework, it shouldn't happen. Things like that shouldn't happen. Now, of course, I mean, it's not anything new. It has already happened several times. Scandals about various ownerships. I remember 15 years ago, there was a very respected gallery called Salinger O'Reilly. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah.
They were selling all masters, and they got involved in the same kind of scheme with, selling the same works for. So it always happens. Some people are too greedy, but as a collector, if you do your homework, it shouldn't happen to you. You shouldn't end up with a work that somebody owns.
So someone wrote Rudolf Stingel, the
That's
name
it,
of.
Rudolf Stingel. When you get old, you forget names. So that's Rudolf
Yeah,
Stingel.
thank you for our guest.